on the go on your mobile phone. We're the internet's best choice.
Vibes and Vinyl is here every Friday live at 8 p.m. on iliveradio.com. Formerly of Toronto's FM radio airwaves, DJs Gene King and Ray Prasad are in the house once again to continue their tradition, promoting great house music to the world. You will hear exclusive releases and sometimes traveling back in time via some of the best disco, soul, funk, and house. So keep it locked and enjoy the ride. DJs Gene King and Ray Prasad have provided their listeners since 1996. Vibes and Vinyl in your face.
Join me, Patrick O'Morris, for the Patrick O'Morris Show right here on iLive Web Radio, Sunday afternoons from 2 to 3 p.m.
Hey, what about me?
Naida, hi.
Hi.
Who let you in the studio?
You're trying to record without me?
Okay, let me try this one more time since you're here. Join me, Patrick O'Morris, for the Patrick O'Morris Show right here on iLive Web Radio with my co-host, Naila T.
Hello. See you next Sunday, 2 to 3 p.m.
This is John Brodsky. If I'm not snapping necks, cashing checks, wearing the large specs, I'm tuned into iLive Radio.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on the Patrick O'Morris Show. Today we have a few extraordinary women doing extraordinary things. We've got a world champion sitting in the studio right now, Natasha The Nightmare Spence. And if you are watching us on YouTube right now, you see this big, huge belt that I think I'm going to... Well, no, I can't fight her for it because she'll probably thump me in my head. But we'll talk and see if she can just leave it here in the studio so we can stick it on the wall to say she was here or something. I don't know. And then, so for the first half hour, we're going to be talking to Natasha. And the second half hour, we're going to be talking to Leslie and Coles and a few female directors that she brought in with her. We're going to be talking about the Female Eye Film Festival that's happening here in Toronto. It's an international film event that actually, when I was talking to her, I was kind of blown away because this thing is a monster. But in our first half an hour, Natasha, hi.
Hello, thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm fabulous.
Okay, so I got, Jason, our studio manager, and I, we were talking about joining a boxing class, and he's kind of been ahead of me a little bit, and
nice.
So maybe he can fight you for the belt or something. And so I decided I wanted to, get healthy, get fit, and I've always kind of liked the idea of boxing. But I didn't want anybody thumping me in my head because that hurts. I remember when I was like, how old was I? Maybe 13 or 14 years old. There was myself and another friend of mine. We were just fooling around. There were boxing gloves laying around, so we picked it up and we were just bouncing around a little bit. And he hit me in my head, and all I felt was my brain bouncing around inside my skull.
Did it actually hurt? It hurt?
You know what? It didn't hurt. It just felt weird because I just thought to myself, my brain is not supposed to do that.
Fair enough.
And so I took my gloves off and I put them down, and I was like,
He said, no thanks.
I said, yeah, this is definitely not for me. Yeah. So why in the world would you want to do this?
That's a good question.
I mean, it's a pretty belt and all.
To be honest, I've always loved boxing ever since I was very small. Just there's something about it that was captivating, like seeing that champion on TV raise their hands and knowing they defeated another person. Like that's always kind of resonated in me. But I actually started boxing to get in shape.
Okay.
It was after high school. I wanted to lose a bit of weight, get in shape. So that's what got me initially into it, even though I kind of had this passion for it. And then I tried it, and I was a natural. I was good at it, so I stuck with it. Keeping in shape, okay, I get that because like it's what I said I wanted to do, right? So a friend of mine recommended a gym out in Oshawa that myself, another friend of mine, and my 12-year-old, the three of us went to this opening night thing where you did some kind of training, and this guy pulled out kettlebells, and we had to do push-ups and lift them up, and the first 15 minutes I was busted. Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, warm-up's over.
Warm up.
I was like, what are you talking about? So I get the losing weight aspect, but
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into all of that, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your story. So you got into it because you wanted to get
Yep.
fit and healthy, and that you found that you were a natural at hitting people in the head. So why was this something that you stuck with? Like, okay, so you had the natural ability, but being able, seeing your opponent laid out on the floor, was it like, wow, this is amazing, or it's just like, boy, I think I might have hurt that person?
Well, when you put it like that,
Because
basically
you've knocked a few people down.
Yeah.
She's so modest.
There's just something empowering about it. And I have been in situations where I felt bad afterwards, but in the moment with all the adrenaline and knowing that person is in there to do exactly what you're in there to do. It's just you did it first, right? It's different. They agreed to it. It's not like, they were pushed in the ring against their will. They agreed to it. They just maybe didn't know what they were getting into. I don't know.
They agreed to get him knocked out by you.
Basically, yeah.
I see. So,
it's empowering. It's very, very empowering.
Well, I guess it would be empowering when you're the person standing up looking down at the person on the floor.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Okay, so this, maybe you could tell us a little bit about, what you had to go through to win this thing.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey. I guess since day one, really almost 12 years ago, when I decided that this is what I wanted to do, that's when the journey began. And then, getting that belt put around my waist was it was like, okay, finally, there's many a times where I just thought to myself, why am I still doing this? All the pain and suffering and not just physical, but emotional. It was a roller coaster, but I didn't give up. And, I'm glad now I didn't give up.
The emotional impact on you, or you just sort of touched on that a little bit. How do you deal with being in that situation when this person's here, like you said, they're here to do exactly the same thing I'm doing, and you when you see other boxers, or you study your opponents before you get in the ring with them. I mean, maybe I'm just guessing here because I don't know.
Sure,
maybe you watch a few fights that they've done and try to understand their style. Try to fit. It's like chess, maybe.
Exactly.
Is what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
Okay, so see, maybe I could.
Hey, there you go.
I don't want nobody hitting me in my head, man.
Defense.
I don't want to feel that. But you get hit in the head. Amongst other places,
Yeah. To be honest, the head's not the worst place. The body is worse.
Yeah.
The body shots are worse.
I'm just worried about my brain.
That's why you just think defense and hands up and speed.
You can always get a rubber arm, but
slip the punches, roll, slip and counter.
Okay, so who are people that inspire you?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of people inspire me. I mean, just anyone in my life that has ever, believed in me or just has been a positive influence. I always think about them, and that's why I continue to do what I do. Not necessarily just, an athlete or someone famous, but, my mother, just best friends and partners and family, my brother, old high school teachers, just there's so many people that have inspired me and continue to inspire me. I can't really just pick one.
How about in the ring? Maybe you don't want to call anybody out, but in terms of other boxers that you might look at and say, maybe I want to be like that, or maybe take a little bit from this person or a little bit from that person type of thing.
Oh, definitely. Sugar Ray Leonard, for sure.
Really?
From day one, yeah. My very first
You're
coach.
Going back, for those young cats out there who that may not know.
Yeah, you better ask somebody, because
you better ask somebody.
Just from day one, my coach introduced me to Sugar Ray Leonard for whatever reason, and it stuck. Just the facade, the aura, his entertainment aspect of what he does. It stuck with me, and I would study him every day. I watched Sugar Ray Leonard fights every day for years and years and years and years and years, and I was always just thinking, I want to be able to do what he does in the ring. He performs. I want to be able to do that. And
What made Sugar Ray he was a bit of a showmanship. Are you you try to take a little bit of that into the ring with you?
Of course, I think we all do. I hope that we all do, because it's not just a sport. It's it's a business, and you got to sell tickets, and it's about how many people can you put in the seat, and that's what promoters look at, right? So that's something that is always going to be on my mind. And when you're in there too, there's a bit of adrenaline that's rushing through you, and you hear people calling your name, the lights, the cameras. So yeah, sometimes that comes out of you, a little flashiness.
Okay, so how do you mentally prepare for this? You've got a fight coming up. You're training for it. How often are the fights? Is it once a year? Once every 6 months? It's like every.
I mean, it depends. It depends. Like I went through a bit of a dry spell for 2.5 years. I didn't fight. We couldn't find anyone that wanted to fight me. Fights kept falling through.
See, I don't know anybody that would want to fight
I
you.
wouldn't want to fight me. I know what I can do. I wouldn't fight me. So, but I mean, ideally, every 3-4 months would be really nice. I'd be happy with that. But it just depends. It's not easy, It's not easy at all. I can't fight myself. There's got to be a willing opponent. So
you're not like. Since now you're the champ now, you're not like mandated that you have to have X amount of fights within certain time frames or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I basically have to defend it within a year, so within 12 months.
Okay.
Or else then
So what happens if everybody's too scared and they don't want to get in the ring with you?
I don't want to think about that. I'm hoping those days are behind me. Now that I have something that they want, before.
No, I'm saying if they're too scared to get in the ring with you.
I'm hoping that they're all not.
You're all not? Okay.
I'm hoping there's at least one out there that's like, yeah, maybe I'll try to take that belt from her.
Okay, maybe so you're welterweight, right?
Junior welterweight.
Junior. Okay, yeah. So what's the difference between junior welterweight and regular welterweight?
A few pounds.
Just a few pounds.
Yeah, just a bit lighter.
Okay. Have you thought about moving up or moving down?
Actually, I did move up for this fight. I used to fight at super featherweight, so quite a bit lighter, and then I moved up a couple weight classes just because hoping that maybe if these girls think that I'm so much smaller than them, they'll think she can't be that strong, or maybe I can take her. She came up in weight. I can take her.
Psychological thing.
Yeah, so maybe I shouldn't be saying this, on the air, but that's basically
you just got outed.
Yeah,
they're like
myself.
Next thing you know, you'd be like, all right, I'm moving into heavyweight. And then still nobody's going to want to fight you. We lost last year. Last week, we lost one of the greatest fighters out there. Ali passed away. And it's been like everywhere, It seems like this year, we've lost some people this year. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck's going on? Bowie, Prince, Ali, just to name a few people who've passed this year. What did that impact you at all when you heard about that?
It's still impacting me. Yeah, of course it did. I think anyone, not even just boxing fans, but anyone that knows anything at all about what Ali has done, just for people, for everyone, not just people of color, not just athletes, but just people. He's been a voice for people without a voice for a long time. And then what he's done in the ring on top of that, it still impacts me. I try not to think about it as much as it's reality. At the same time, it's almost like I've pushed it back, and I just try not to think about it. Stuff comes on the radio. I just change the station. I don't know if I'm just not ready to internalize it yet. It's hard. I'm sure it's been hard for a lot of people.
When you think of, young girls coming up, because you're in a pretty male-dominated sport.
Oh, definitely.
And I think it's taken a bit of a time for female boxers to kind of get the recognition.
Too long, yeah.
That you deserve. Maybe you need to knock out a few guys. But it's taken a long time for women to really be recognized in the sport seriously.
Definitely.
I remember, growing up, watching, some main event fights, and then they might have a showcase of some female fighters before the guys get on stage, sort of thing. And I remember watching the crowd sometimes, and half the times they didn't really pay too much attention. And when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking these women they're giving their all. And you guys are mean.
Definitely, it's come a long way.
You guys are mean. The guys are bad, but I've watched some women's fight, and I'm like, good Lord, man.
Yeah, and that's the difference because you've actually watched. I think a lot of the time people have it in their mind, or they've just been kind of conditioned to not pay attention, or no, girls can't fight. But when you actually pay attention and watch, we can fight, and a lot of us can fight just like the guys, or even better. You know, majority of my fights, I've won fight of the night. You know, usually it's one female on a show of maybe 7 or 8 or 9 male bouts, and you get one female, and the female is a lot of times winning fight of the night because we can throw down, you know, and people are finally starting to pay attention and watch.
Do you think that okay, so from your female in a male dominated industry, kind of pushing the boundaries in a sense, for girls that are coming up who are looking at you, who might be saying, you know, I want a pretty belt like that too at some point.
Yeah.
You know, who may be too young to fight you right now for it. You know, what would you say to them about getting into this field?
Go for it. 100%, I'd say go for it. Like anything else in life, there's going to be ups and downs, but you might as well do something that you absolutely love, something that consumes you, something you think about every day, than doing something else and wondering, well, you know, I wonder how I would have done doing that, you know, or going through the motions. I know so many people that go through the motions of life every day and they're not happy. You know, I don't even feel like I go to work every day. You know, I get up, I go to the gym, I beat some people up, I take a nap, I eat some good food, go back to the gym. Like
beat some more people up.
Right, exactly. So, you know, why not? You know, why not do something that you absolutely love? Of course you can do it. Do it.
Do you have a mentor, or do you mentor people?
No, I to be honest, I don't. I'd like to, for sure. And, you know, when young people reach out to me, I try to be there for them and I'll give them advice, and I'm always available for that. I'd like to get into some sort of program, or even like a big sister. Like growing up, I had a big sister, and it completely changed my life, changed my world, you know? So I'd like to get into stuff like that for sure.
So if you have a child out there, and, you know, a girl out there, and that you think might want to, you know, thump other people in their head,
send them my way.
Send them to you. Okay, so, you know, you started doing this out of high school just to get fit, and then was there a lot of convincing that needed to be done to say, hey, maybe you can go pro? Were you scared? Were you just like, you know what, let's do this, let's go, you know, who's next, let me knock them out? Like,
to be honest, it's kind of a funny story. Well, initially in the beginning, when I first, like taking it back, when I first tried boxing, it's kind of funny because, you know, I tried it out, I liked it, but I was in a position in life where I'm like, okay, I can't afford that. Like it was a bit pricey for where I was in life. And so I was like, you know, as much as I'd love to do it, I can't. And my coach at the time actually tracked me down, you know, through the grapevine, I guess, found my number and called my cell phone and was like, you need to get back in this gym. And I'm like, well, who is this again? And how did you get my number? And so that stuck with me, because to know that, you know, a former champion and a former professional boxer, you know, he saw something in me the first time I put a pair of gloves on and tracked me down and said, you need to be in the gym. You know, that I've always replayed that in my mind. And that's why, you know, I didn't give up and I stayed with it. And turning pro at the time, again, I was in a position as an amateur where there was no one else for me. I had kind of reached, you know, that plateau, I guess, per se. No one else to fight. It was just like, what do I do now? You know, and we talked about it, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? You know, big shiny belts to get. Yeah, let's do it. So I was excited about that.
So back to my boxing story here. Okay. So I after 30 minutes of, God, it felt like two hours of warm up, because this was like my first time trying it at this gym. Which I would love to go back. It's so far, anyways, that's another story. But traffic.
I've got somewhere closer that you can go to.
Traffic in Toronto is horrible.
Yeah,
That's all I could
exactly.
say. Okay, so after my 30 minutes of exhaustion, and I'm trying to catch my breath, and this old dude comes in, and I swear he must have been like 90 or something. Comes over and he goes, okay, you guys are new. I'm like, yeah. He says, okay, so I'm just going to walk you through the basics. I'm like, okay. So I look at him and I'm like, so how long you been doing this? I was hoping he was going to say I started 2 weeks ago, but he was like, oh, it's about 40 years. And I'm like, wow. Oh man, we're dead.
You're dead. Yeah.
We're dead. This guy's been doing this for 40 years. He could probably kick my butt. And so he was walking through and he's giving us, the simple steps. And he's like, okay, let me see you throw a jab. All right. So we do it. And he's like, no, you're doing it all wrong. I'm like, okay.
Everything's all wrong when you're a beginner.
I walked out of there so demoralized. You don't understand. It's like I couldn't do anything right. But so he shows us how to do a jab. And so we're standing in front of the I don't know, 150-pound bag, whatever those things are. And he's like, okay, hit the thing. So I hit it. And he's like, no, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, okay. He goes, hit it like this. And when he hit the bag, I'm standing there. I'm like, I don't think I can do that like that, man. I'm like, this is crazy because I don't know. Maybe a lot of people, when they think of boxing, they don't really stop to look at the mechanics behind it.
Exactly.
And there's an art.
Oh, of course.
Like there's
That's
an
why
art.
they call it the sweet science. It's not just a catchy phrase. There is a science to it for sure.
Now, when you think of your style of fighting, and I guess being creative, because you really have to be creative. Once you learn, and this is one of my all of 2 classes that I went to, I realized that once you learn the quote unquote the mechanics of it, how not to cross your legs so you don't get knocked over, things like that, then you have to sort of take it to the next level, add your own creativity to it, your own flair to it.
Yeah.
How challenging was that for you to be able to make that shift from knowing the basics over to this is my style, this is my flow, this is my float like a butterfly, sting like a bee moment.
To be honest, that's the easy part. Definitely, that's the easy part. If you make it past the basics, it's just all fun from there.
The basics is hard.
The basics is the hard part. Yeah. And it's hard for a reason. It's kind of I looked at it as like the weaning out process. If you can't get these basic steps down 1,000 times over and over every day until you feel like you're going crazy, and then do it again, and then do it again. If you can't get past that, you're not meant to do it.
Just
basically. So.
Throw your gloves in or just become one of those people that you beat up.
Yeah, unfortunately, some people are fine with that.
What is so what's your worst moment in the ring? What has been your worst moment in the ring?
Oh my goodness. One, I've never been asked that before, so congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
So I've never thought about that before.
I'm trying.
I honestly don't think I have one.
Yeah?
That's unreal. I've never thought of that before. No, I mean, as soon as I step in that ring, no matter what's happening, it's just, for me, it's just amazing. The feeling of the lights and knowing that I'm in my element, it feels so good. Even if you take a hard punch or, because I've taken maybe a body shot here or there where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. I think I'm going to die. Am I going to die? Maybe I'm not going to die. But even in that moment, it's still like I'm in my glory. So
I'm thinking that'd be the worst moment. I'm there trying to figure out, am I going to live right now or am I going to die? If I get another hit, is that it? Do I have to
Yeah, but see, we're so,
as
fighters we're conditioned.
Do I get a lifeline here or something?
Final answer. Well, as fighters, we're conditioned to deal with that, right? So that might be someone else's anxiety or worst moment, but for me, it's something that it happens and I roll it off my shoulders and continue. I can't think of my worst moment in the ring. It's all great.
A lot of people say that the art of boxing is kind of a life metaphor. Aiming, you have to go through the training, face your opponent, your adversities, all that sort of stuff. Does that play out for you?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I believe that 100%. The fight that I have in the gym or in the ring is actually easier than the fight that I have outside of the ring and in life. It really is.
Well, you're not allowed to beat people up outside the ring.
No, now we're going back to metaphorically, not literally. But yeah, the struggles in life, I think, are a lot harder than just physically, pounding on someone and having them pound back on you. If anything, that's kind of like the release. That's the time where I can turn off the mental and emotional crap and just have fun.
So you see, the real reason you do it then is stress relief.
Oh yeah, that's,
you get in the
part
ring
of it for sure.
and you could just let loose. And
But really though, imagine that. Like, you know, you have a bad day and then you can just put gloves on and then just beat up whoever's in front of you or whatever heavy bag's in front of you.
that don't sound too good. Like,
No,
you know,
that came out wrong.
yeah.
Scratch that. Scratch that.
Because I'm thinking, you know, what if they're going to decide to be trying to do that? No, let's not even go there. You know, get into lots of trouble. Okay, people who are listening right now or watching on the internet, I'm just saying it's not a good idea just to go around and beat people up.
No, we're talking about in the ring.
Oh, in the ring. Oh, okay.
No, in the gym. In the gym. Come on,
See,
man.
I'm gonna start talking to your friends now, and they're all gonna be scared and be like, "Yeah, we can't say anything about her because she's gonna cut me in my head later on."
Yeah, no, I'd never fight outside of the ring. And to be honest, actually, before I started boxing, you know, just being a bit immature and going through the teenage years, you know, there were times where maybe I got into a little bit of a scrap or two. But ever since I put the gloves on, there's not been one time that I've gotten into a fight outside of the ring. It's just, you know, you're taught that everything you learn, you keep in the ring. It's sacred, you know. And it helps shape and tame a lot of people. So,
okay, we got like 4 minutes left before I gotta, you know, bring my next guest on here. But the time just went.
It
by.
really went really quickly. Yeah.
Okay, what is your most memorable moment in the ring? Maybe you can tell us that.
Oh, that I could tell you for sure.
Because I'm sure you've been asked that question.
Yeah, definitely getting this bad boy strapped around me. It's heavy too. I recall that.
Yeah, it is heavy.
I recall because, you know, after the fight, you're a bit winded, you're tired, and you're just so many things going through your mind. And
This thing is heavy.
oh yeah,
Does it look good on me?
it's upside down.
Thanks. Turn it around. Okay. Does it look better now, Jason? No. He won't even work with me here.
No, he knows what's up. Definitely getting that strapped around my waist was my most memorable moment.
Now you're a girl fighter. People would be saying, why isn't it pink?
As much as I do enjoy pink, I can't believe you just asked me that. Moving on.
I'm messing with you. No, the reason why I'm saying that, again, it goes back to, you know, a lot of people when they think of female fighters, they don't. You often hear people say, "Oh, you punch like a girl," you know, but maybe they.
And I say thank you.
They haven't.
I say get in front of me and I'll show you what that feels like, and they usually don't.
I'm gonna say that they've never probably experienced
No.
you, or what you've accomplished, but I have to say, you know, thank you very much for coming on the show. Number one.
Thank you.
Number two is, you know, continue to do what you're doing and continue to push boundaries, and you know, continue to be a beacon out there that women can look to and say, you know, we can do anything, we can do whatever it is that we want to do.
Definitely.
Because definitely, society today, things are changing. Obviously, society is changing, but you know, we've got a long way to go on so many fronts.
Yeah.
On so many fronts, and you know, I do wish you well in continuing to punch people in their head.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And I do hope that you know, you continue to dodge those punches.
Always,
you know,
for
metaphorically and physically, because it's not an easy thing to do. And having said that, so we've got a spot on the wall. We could put this.
You
hang it in the
could
studio.
put a picture of it for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Life-size picture.
It's not exactly what I was thinking. But yeah, definitely. Is there anything that you would like to say, you know, to the public, to the people, to the internet, that, you know, in the last 1 minute here?
1 minute.
You know, that you'd want to say?
Just follow your dreams, whoever you are, and whatever those dreams may be. Whatever they may be, you know, the sky is honestly the limit, and just keep following your dreams, and surround yourself by positive people that believe in you. That's so important. I have a great team, you know, of sponsors, of family, of friends that believe in me and help me. And anyone that doesn't believe in me, it's up to you, but goodbye, see ya, you know, moving on.
She's so mean.
So follow your dreams and yeah, do your thing and love what you do.
Because then you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Exactly.
All right, great. Thank you very much for being here. It's definitely been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to take a quick 30-second break, and when we get back, we're going to be talking to a few other ladies. We're going to be talking to Leslie Ann Coles from the Female Eye Film Festival.
Nice.
And a few directors as well. Some joining us on Skype and also in the studio. So we're just going to take a quick break. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
The best internet radio station around. iLife Radio, the new social network.
I said that I love you so, and I mean it so. From the bottom of my heart, I'm telling you truthfully, baby. I saw that something in your eyes. Comes to no surprise that you turned me oh so giddy. What's up, people? This is Omar, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
Online and on the go on your mobile phone. We're the internet's best choice.
You're listening to iLive Radio. This is Jay Most. Enjoy.
Music back to back to back. iLive Radio.
Welcome to iLive Radio. Hi, I'm ODJ, your host from Amalgamation in Sound. Join me every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. where I'll bring you the very best in UK soul, house, broken beat, and everything in between. Remember to join in every Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. for Amalgamation in Sound. See you there.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Welcome back. And we are back with, thank you, Natasha, for being here earlier. And we're back with, we're going to be talking about the Female Eye Film Festival. We've got Leslie and Coles with me. Hi, Leslie.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. And we've got Virginia Abramovich. Hi, Virginia.
Hello.
Where to begin? Like when we were talking on the phone, we were talking about the film festival, and you were talking about how much of a monster that this kind of came in. In the last 14 years, it started off as something, a simple idea. Why is it that all these things that we start off with simple ideas, all of a sudden they just morph into these monstrosity of a thing?
I know. I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah. So true, right?
It is up. I think we have on the phone, Deborah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Deb.
Thank you for joining us, Deborah. All the way from New York City, right?
Yeah, just outside of the city, but close enough.
Close enough. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Deborah is also a filmmaker, and we'll start with Leslie. Hi, Leslie. We'll start with you.
Yeah.
You kind of brought all these fabulous people together. Mm-hmm. Again, today we're talking about extraordinary women doing extraordinary things, and you saw that there was a need for more female representation in the arts, on film. And let's talk a little bit about your dream and how you started this, and then we're bringing some of the directors that you're showcasing as well.
All right. Well, the Female Eye Film Festival began, I guess, really in 2001. I was attending various international film festivals with my own debut film, and screened at about 35 festivals, and I was meeting other women directors. But I noticed that that women were a minority among the directors in attendance at these international film festivals. And it raised a question for me, and the question was, are there so few women directors, or are their films not getting programmed? Mm-hmm. And so we held an event in Toronto, 42 films. 14 years later, here we are. We're a 6-day competitive international women directors film festival, because women like to compete. We know that from your previous guest. And so we give awards for best films, best screenplays, but we're not at the exclusion of men. So I always want to kind of
I was going to say, what's up with the brothers, man? We get no love?
No, you get lots of love. We have a script development program that's open to both men and women. Mm-hmm. The caveat is that the scripts have to feature a female protagonist.
Okay.
And we have a lot of men, industry guests, script writers, speakers, workshop leaders, masterclass producers, all kinds of people who participate year after year with the film in the film festival and in the pre-production.
Now, a lot of people might say, okay, so this is a women's event sort of thing, and you noticed that in the mainstream festivals that you were going to, there was not a lot of female representation. Mm-hmm. So why go the route of kind of creating your own versus saying to the people who are in charge of those other festivals, hey, this should be 50-50, or it should be 49-51, whatever that percentage is. You need to make sure that you have more representation and push for that versus just kind of doing your own.
Well, we actually do that as well. I mean, we've been pretty active in terms of advocating for women in Canada to receive a bigger slice of the pie in terms of funding from our public funders, Telefilm, OMDC. There's a huge push right now across the country. It's called 2 times more. The idea being to get more women having opportunities to work on set in mainstream TV and in film. So the reason I think it's important to shine a light on women directors, it's because we live in a culture where we don't see a lot of films directed by women in the mainstream cinema. Mm-hmm. So it's about putting those films in front of a general audience and saying, hey, look at the kinds of films that women make. They're not all rom-coms. They're not always honest. I mean, they're always honest, but they're not always pretty. That seems to be the flavor of the festival, and also to help sort of break the stereotype that just because a woman writes and directs, produces a film, she's not necessarily creating it for a femme-centric audience. It would be like saying, you're a dude, you just directed a film, and you're creating it for a male audience. And women don't do that. Women just create great films, or at least the films that we present at the Female Eye are really high caliber.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Deborah?
Yeah.
You're still there listening to us. Why did you want to get involved in this festival?
Well, Leslie Ann, brought my first film to the festival. It was the second year of the festival. Mm-hmm. And it was incredible to have her champion the film when a lot of festivals weren't inviting the film. The film went on to be nominated for a couple of Independent Spirit Awards. We ended up having a great festival run, but Leslie Ann really stepped forward and took a chance on my first film. She also brought my second film, and now this is my third film. And, she's a woman who's been doing this before it was the in thing to do. Right now, there's so much focus on women filmmakers. There's so much talk. There's so many initiatives, which is great. But I have to say, Leslie Ann really started this way before anyone else was doing it. And, there have been a lot of doors that we've all been banging on to say, hey, 50-50, give us, some room out there. A lot of protests, even at Cannes. And the numbers don't change very quickly, if at all. They're starting to shift, but you need people like Leslie Ann, and you need this festival really there to hold the space. It's the only way it happens.
Virginia, why do you make films?
I make films because I have to tell the stories. It's kind of, I can't help it. I've become, almost the story itself takes over me, and eventually, so the different stories have come to me in different forms, in different ways, but I don't know if I can, there's another expression maybe, but for me, it's filmmaking, and it's how I like to tell the stories. Maybe I'm a little bit obsessive. I get obsessed about it, so I have to, because it's hard to make a film, and it sometimes takes years. The one that's playing in the festival called Little Questions took me 3 years.
3 years.
But because of also I had to take time off and things like that, and some of the ways that we were two. At one point, I was working with an editor. We were two moms editing at night. At 9, I'd be like, are your kids in bed? Yeah, my kids are in bed, so I drive over. So, I mean, that's the kind of things maybe that men don't have stories like this to tell. But that was, the challenge in this case of where I was and what I needed to do to make this film.
Leslie, with when you started this, and you saw that there was a need, were you immediately embraced, or was there a lot of challenges that you were faced in getting this off the ground? I
mean, I think the biggest challenge initially was not finding the films per se. They were there, and there were a lot of local Toronto filmmakers that I hadn't known, I didn't even know existed. But the biggest challenge was anything that's female anything. There's this assumption that we're all, radical Marxist feminists, and all males should be abolished. And
you don't
and that we're all lesbians. Nothing wrong with that at all. We show a lot of films from the community, but it's that automatic assumption that that's what we are. We're either radical feminists, hardcore, banner carrying, with all the same ideology, or we just, we're at the exclusion of men. It's like the girls' club, and none of those things are true. So for many, many years, our tagline, before it became always honest, not always pretty, it was female eye flicks, not just for chicks. And that was to say, we have great films.
Female eye flicks, not just for chicks.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah. So we that was the biggest hurdle for us, was to say, you know what, come on out and take a look at what we're doing. I mean, these films are great. So that was the biggest obstacle, really.
Do you think that when you started this, you said there was lots of films that are out there that you could work with?
There's more now, but there were films, but now with the democratization of digital filmmaking and the content, there's way more films. Anyone can pick up a camera and shoot a film, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a great film, right? Yeah. You have to know how to tell a story. But there were films, yeah, in the early days. Now there's more, but.
Was there, because you always hear that from the mainstream, is that, there's not a lot of female directors or filmmakers. There's not a lot of content that's out there. Is that accurate? Or is that more of a perception?
It's a perception, but it's also that we see some really great debut films come to the film festival year after year. I mean, we show debut, emerging, mid-career, and established directors' films. And then what we found is that some of these young directors who've graduated from film school, they just drop off the radar. They make one or two short films and they're gone. And we don't know where they are. We don't know what happened to them. We don't know if it's because it's not they decide that it's not a viable career choice. I mean, so that's been the biggest observation, has been, where do they go? Right? They make these great short films, a great debut, and then they disappear.
Okay, so there's, I guess, Deborah, you're in the States.
Yeah.
You're here. There is this, when it comes to the arts, a lot of people think that they have to go to the States to sort of get the recognition or get awareness about what it is they're doing. And being able to stay here in Canada and have that same level of success, whether it's music or film or whatever it is, like, two of my sons, one's in film and television, so he's directing, and the other one, he makes music. And the last while, they both kind of looked at me and said, you know what, I think we need to go to the States. Is that really true? Like, can a filmmaker here in Canada, make it off it, or do they have to work at, be a barista in the daytime or something?
Well, I'll just say we don't have the studio system that the States has. So, they have studios that produce. They have a lot more in terms of independent executive producers, smaller. Am I right, Deborah? Mid-sized production companies will come in and pick up a project and get behind it financially and creatively. There's more of that, but in Canada we have Telefilm Canada and the OMDC and the CMF, and so we have public funders, we have public support, but there are a lot of people competing for that small pool of money, and it can become a little cliquish. It can become a little bit, the known kind of established Canadian directors seem to be getting the money.
The money.
Right.
So you get the upstart, they got to hire somebody like Natasha to go and take out the competition for them.
Sure. That sounds
all right,
great.
Natasha. Yeah.
Okay, so for,
I just wanted to say that, so this is kind of my recent perception, because I've gone to the States and talked to some filmmakers, period. And I find that in Canada, one of the things is we wait around for the funding, and in the States, they make stuff. So there's a lot more private fund,
angel investors.
Yeah, and it's Deborah, right? How did you make your film? Did you get private funding? I'm curious.
Yeah, all of my funding's been private.
Like philanthropists?
My first feature was $65,000, and it was before crowdfunding, but essentially I did crowdfunding on it. My second was a much bigger budget, but it was all finding individuals who, were willing to invest in the film, and the same with the third.
How long did it take you, Deb, to make Split? Oh, by the way, Split is our closing gala feature. Deborah's film Split, and it's amazing.
Thank you, Wesley-Ann. It took, we announced Split back when we were at Sundance with my second film in 2007. So, it took a long time. And it's taken, it took me 10 years to get my first film made, and then, it was another 6 or 7 to get the second, and then another 8 to get the third. It takes a long time. We don't really have, here in the States, we wish we had what you all have. So the grass is always greener, right?
Very true.
So from what you're saying, that there is an allocated amount of a pool of funds that,
which I'm always grateful to receive when I do. So I'm not criticizing it. It's absolutely
but there's more people who are in need of funds than there is funds, which always seems to be the case. Oh,
definitely.
So you talked about what you had noticed before about a lot of great filmmakers starting out, and they may make 1 or 2 shorts, and then they kind of fall off the radar. How do you go about capturing these people to make sure that they don't lose their direction and just decide to be a barista in a restaurant someplace versus pursuing their passion, pursuing their dream, because that can be a challenge sometimes, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do try to track filmmakers, and we also do. I've been curating a lot of programs for sister film festivals over the last few years. So I curated a Canadian Shorts program, Your Film, Virginia. Little Questions was in it in March.
Lunchbox Loser too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so we were in Turkey in 2015 presenting films at the Flying Broom Film Festival, in Yerevan presenting films, in Armenia in 2014. So I think part of it is to give the filmmakers a window, create that space for them so their films can be seen, not just at the Female Eye, outside of the Female Eye. And we also produced the December 6th program in memoriam of the Montreal Massacre. And we do that when we have funding, and we show films that pertain to issues of violence against women, and we raise money for VAW, Violence Against Women Shelter. So we've done that as well. So we try to get the films out there, and that's one way. But really, when it comes down to it, it's really about the individual. You have to be persistent, tenacious, dedicated. It's kind of what Virginia was saying, and I'll echo it. You have to do it. It's like whether you're a songwriter, a boxer, a painter, whatever. You have to want it to do it so badly that you will not be deterred for whatever reason, and you do it.
Wow. Okay, so your film festival starts
Tuesday, June 14th. We open with local filmmaker Ingrid Venegar's film He Hated Pigeons, and it was shot in Chile. It's beautiful, and we actually have Jane Siberry, singer-songwriter, accompanying it with a live improvised score. Yeah, and then we have a great opening reception. We have a photo exhibit that's part of our opening night reception year after year. And then we have 6 days of really, really great films, experimental animation, documentary. We have filmmakers coming in from all over the world, from Turkey, Russia, France, Italy. Lots of live action, lots of really great films.
Where can people go?
They can
get
go,
the details about
they
this
can go
and
to
buy
the
tickets?
website. Yeah, website, www.femaleyefilmfestival.com. They can buy them on PayPal, and there are always, some tickets available at the door as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to give some away to your listeners, I'll be happy to hand over some tickets.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll have to. Wow.
Here, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. I was thinking. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second.
All right.
Okay, well, that's a great idea. Okay, so people might be like, Female Eye Film Festival. It's been going for 14 years now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you compare against the other film festivals? People might go to TIFF or Cannes, or there's so many other film festivals that go on in the world. How do you guys compare with them?
Compare on a
global
quality
scale,
basis,
on a quality scale.
Well, there is. There's hot dogs in TIFF for sure, and Cannes, and there's lots of really great, international film festivals that are much bigger than the Female Eye and far more and have bigger funding. But I think, I'm proud to say this. For the Female Eye, it has been voted for the 4th consecutive year one of the top 50 film festivals in the world, worth the entry fee by Movie Maker magazine out of Santa Monica. Mm-hmm. And we were the only Toronto Film Festival named. I think there was a film festival in Montreal and Vancouver also on the list. But we're really proud of that distinction. That's been hard won. And so we're kind of now known as, if you're a woman director and you're serious about your career, we're kind of the film festival to go to now. So I don't know how we compare, but that's what we are.
I want to say, because I've been to TIFF a lot, and because I'm in Toronto, and I've been last year was my first time at Female Eye, and I was actually really sincerely impressed by the quality of films that you guys create, and also just it's a diversity of films, and it's films that you won't see. They won't come back to if you go to TIFF, more than half the films are going to come out in the theater, so you're actually paying more money to see. I'm not going to say, but anyways, yeah. Okay. In a way, right? So that, it stars, its names, it's things like that. Whereas I find this festival is actually it's interesting films and talent that maybe there's no names attached, but there's some really, every film has some kind of spark and something that's unique and also on the level of just. Going there and meeting people. You could be at TIFF and it's this huge festival. You're like a little speck. And you go to a party, nobody might even talk to you, whatever. Just an example. Whereas this is just a really nice community-based, very warm, a place where you can, connect with people and, meet filmmakers and stuff like that. So it's a different animal, but I think it's a really great festival.
When you started this 14 years ago, when you look back, today you're looking back and you're thinking, what do you think? Now, when you look back 14 years ago when you started this, was this your vision?
To be doing this?
To be doing this the way you're doing it right now?
No.
14 years ago, was this your vision?
No. If someone had said to me 14 years ago, you're going to be the executive director of an international women's film festival, I would have laughed at them and said, I know nothing about that. So this has been a big surprise for me as well. And year after year, we produce it and hopefully we'll stand for a long time. But it wasn't my vision to be doing this, if that's what you're asking. But I'm glad and I'm very proud to be championing the women directors.
Now it's what you're doing. Obviously, there's definitely a big need for this. So you showcase these 80 films.
Actually, 94. I counted.
94 now.
Yeah, because we produced 10 short films. We worked with Youth at Risk, Female Youth at Risk, and we actually produced. We've produced about 46 films to date, and this year we actually did something a little different. We went to Manitoulin Island and we worked with girls and women from 4 reserves. And we worked with Aboriginal women, and they learned how to hold a Super 8 camera, shoot, edit using Final Cut Pro, and we're premiering those 10 films.
You said Super 8, right?
Yeah, we shot on Super 8.
Okay.
film.
That's old school.
Yeah, really old school. And they're gorgeous. So we're showing those films on Saturday, 12 p.m. I'm really proud of that program. So I probably lost track of the question.
I was to talk about, so you're showcasing film, but then you also produce films.
We do.
Okay. And
to encourage young women to pursue filmmaking if that's something they're interested in, or at least give them a taste of it. We've had lots of girls go to Ryerson, and some of them are journalists now, some of them are filmmakers. I actually just finished my feature with a kid I mentored in 2006 through the Young Filmmaker Development Workshop, and that just sold to CBC. So, we give back, I like to think, and we encourage young women to look at, directing. And I think if we all close our eyes and we envision a director, we see a dude standing behind a camera with a fedora. I don't think we automatically envision a woman, right? Deb, do you agree?
Oh my gosh!
Do you have a fedora?
I don't know the numbers there in Canada, but in the States, the number of female directors has hovered at about 6% for decades. And when you think about film as the way we as a society sit around the campfire and tell our stories and create our myths and therefore create our future, and you've got 94% of that being created by men, I think. It's very problematic. And I think what, for me, is so important about what Leslie Ann is doing is, young women are being told when they'll articulate their, authentic voice that, it's wrong. But it's not wrong. It's that it's different. It's that we don't have ears as a society to hear a young woman's voice. And so we have to find other women and men who can hear us, and a little bit of space where someone's there hearing you, you can hear yourself more deeply, and that's how you begin to trust your voice. That's how you take chances. That's how you do it anyway, even though you've been told no and no and no. So I just think that, what the Female Eye does and what Leslie Ann does is so essential to have a space for us to hear each other.
We've got about 3 minutes left. Time just flies. But if maybe each one of you could take 30 seconds to kind of put this out there, and that is, so if 94% of the film that is being made
that's in the States.
Yeah, in the States, or I'm not sure what it's similar here.
14%.
14% in Canada.
It's 14% in Canada.
Okay, so it's 14% in Canada. It's 6% in the U.S. What is being lost when in the fact that there's the percentage is so small?
Well, I always reflect on when I first started looking at films in the first few years for the festival, and they were coming in from all over the world, and all of a sudden I was seeing women reflected on the screen that I was not used to seeing. I wasn't used to seeing a woman over the age of 40 in a romantic situation. I was used to seeing a 21-year-old on the arm of a 60-year-old man. And I wasn't used to seeing wise, old, wizened women on a big screen in front of me. So I think we need to, I can echo, I agree with everything Deborah said, but I think, young girls, women, we need to see ourselves and our stories reflected in our culture and reflected on the screen in terms of film. And I think that is the loss. That is a great, great loss. If all we're seeing is Kim Kardashian or, nothing wrong with Kim Kardashian. She's got her brand, but, we need to see diversity. We need to see all of this, and we need to see it from the perspective of the female eye.
You've got 10 seconds.
I think Leslie just said it so well, and Deborah did. Yeah, we and I think it's females. It's also a diversity in other things as well. There's a very kind of narrow voice that we're hearing. Particularly of the white male, so it's gotta expand.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're like almost out of time. Deb.
Yeah.
We're almost out of time. So if you've got 10 seconds, Maybe what's being lost?
Everything that they said in 10 seconds. It's hard to say it, but it's the female. It's the diverse perspective, and diversity is what makes us strong, and we need to strengthen ourselves with the stories of everyone. That everyone has a place for their voice in this conversation.
Great. I want to thank you guys for being on the show, by all means. If you want to get a couple tickets to the show, you can email me at pom@patrickomorse.com. That's pom@patrickomorse.com, and we can get a couple tickets out to the show.
I'll give you 6 pairs.
6 pairs of tickets. There you go. Thank you guys for being on the show. Have a great weekend, everyone, and enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The best internet radio station around. iLife Radio, the new social network.
I said that I love you so, and I mean it so. From the bottom of my heart, I'm telling you to play. Baby, I saw that something in your eyes. Comes to no surprise that you turn me oh so giddy.
What's up, people? This is Omar, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
Hey, this is Emily King, and you're listening to iLive Radio.
Rare groove, revival, slow jams, upfront, old school.
The best music around in stereo sound.
Music back to back to back. iLive Radio.
How you doing? What's good? It's Nkechi the Lyrical, sitting in my zone here, vibing and listening to iLive. And if you don't know, get to know. And if you do know, you don't know. And if you know, then relax and enjoy the ride.
You're listening to iLive Radio. This is Jay Most. Enjoy.
Online and on the go on your mobile phone. We're the internet's best choice.
Vibes and Vinyl is here every Friday live at 8 p.m. on iLiveRadio.com. Formerly of Toronto's FM radio airwaves, DJs Gene King and Ray Prasad are in the house once again to continue their tradition, promoting great house music to the world. You will hear exclusive releases and sometimes traveling back in time via some of the best disco, soul, funk, and house. So keep it locked and enjoy the ride. DJs Gene King and Ray Prasad have provided their listeners since 1996. Vibes and Vinyl in your face.
This is John Browski. If I'm not snapping necks, cashing checks, wearing the large specs, I'm tuned into iLive Radio.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
The Soul Expression Show with DJ Sessions.
Wanna know that you're in comfort. I wanna know that you're alright. Wanna feel that if you need me, I'm gonna be there day or night. If you ever feel in trouble,
Good afternoon, welcome to Soul Expressions. Streaming around the World Wide Web right here on iLive Radio.
gonna be there just to love you.
Patrick Morris will return, hopefully we'll finish on time. I'm gonna get you a big digital clock.
Ever
with a red alarm on it. Summer vibes, summer grooves right here. Sun is out.
You just have to call. Oh yeah. I love you, you know it's true. Yeah. If you're ever all alone, don't
So don't forget to spread the word, share the link. Stop dropping things in my studio. Spread the word, share the link. Rare grooving today. With a touch of new soul, don't forget. 5 p.m. today we have Donny O, famous Toronto rapper, in the studio on The Spot with Sharisha. And tonight, special event, 9 p.m. Spinner brings back the Prime Ministers, breaking down the life and times of Jay-Z.
have a chance to be right near you, to feel the warmth of your touch. I would never, never, never hurt you, make you think that I don't care. I'll be around to give you all of me. I promise I'll be there. If you ever need me, call on me. the door. Now you're calling for a second chance after I've gotten over you. Girl, 3 strikes come in a baseball game. The one's between me and you. Don't strike twice in the same way. No, love, don't strike twice between me and you, babe. Love, don't strike twice in the same way. No, love, don't strike twice between me and you, babe.
Massive shouts out to Slacker the Beat Child, locked in from the Madhouse Cafe. Don't forget, see, that's what happens when you're not paying attention. Massive shout out to Slacker, locked in at the Madhouse Cafe. That's on, if you want to go check it out, that's down Kingston Road in the Beaches area. Great food. I'm coming soon, bro. Believe me, I'm coming for my healthy snack. Continue with the Rare Groove vibe and style. Let's go back to some more Maze. This is Frankie Beverly and Maze, and one of my favorite tracks from them.
What do you